Welcome to another version of Kente Arts Alliance Jazz History, Past, Present, and Future. Today we're talking about our future concert with the Sun Ra Orchestra on September the 18th of this year, 2016. And I'm blessed with the presence of the Queen Charlotte Carr and the King George Heid. Thank you. Tell me about your first encounters with Sun Ra.
My first encounter was this. I was a student at Cooper Union, which is a school that's on the Lower East Side. I came from a small town in Pittsburgh called Crescent Stairs. This is like a village for Pittsburgh. It's a little small town composed of people that came from the South and went to, and worked at the mills or Westinghouse, and we all had this little enclave of black folks called Crescent Stairs. So I got a scholarship to go to Cooper Union. I wanted to come to New York, so I saw Cooper Union and I saw free. So I applied to Cooper Union, not realizing that was a prestigious place. So I came innocent to New York, and my first encounter seeing Sun Ra was at Slugs. So I would, after school, many times I would go over to the 5 spot where Mingus was playing. This is directly across the street from school. So I would hear Mingus all the time. I mean, it was just wonderful. And on Mondays, Sun Ra would sometimes play at Slugs. So I would go in and see all this magic. It was like magic personified. You see Sun Ra with his hat, it could be spinning, and he had dancers. I mean, it was like Mardi Gras on Monday night in New York City. So that was my first encounter with the Sun Ra group, and I can say that it was mystical and magical and has influenced my art production ever since.
And that group in the late,
that was around 67, 68, yes.
Yeah, so that group was between 20 and 30 people.
Yes.
On,
it was exciting.
So, including dancers,
And June was the main singer. I think June
was
there.
June Tyson.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in the group, but I didn't have nerve enough to ask.
Well,
I think you would have been welcome. I think you would have been welcome.
Yeah.
Possibly.
You'd have contributed, for sure. I can see that.
Yeah. So, George,
Yes,
what was your first encounter with Sun Ra?
My brother and I were really out looking for old 78s of blues and boogie woogie and jazz, and one of the first records that we had got, I didn't know it was Sun Ra on piano, but it was a record by Wynonie Harris, a noted great blues singer through the 40s and 50s. And it was piano and drums only with Wynonie singing, and it was called Dig This Boogie, a Nashville label, made in 1946. And we happened on the 78, and with all the boogie woogie pianists that we really were following, me, Lux Lewis, and Memphis Slim, and Smith, Pine Top Smith, it was just incredible to hear this pianist play completely originally different and yet magnificent. He wasn't breaking rules and then came up with something that was an innovation for innovation's sake. It was incredibly soulful and genius.
Wow.
Anyway, mid-60s then I come across 2 albums. The first 2 albums I bought by Sun Ra was Heliocentric Worlds, Volume 1 and 2. And it was all over but the crying.
All right.
And I've really gone to get as many recordings as I can. And the amazing thing is that as some recordings that he had didn't come out for the longest time. He did a lot of recordings that finally came out on Delmark Records, and they were done in Chicago, and that was also just an incredible addition of incredible, Sun Ra.
Yeah, so let me tell my Sun Ra story. I lived in Brooklyn in 1965, and ordinarily on Sunday I'd go for a walk in Prospect Park. And this particular Sunday I decided to go to Central Park. So I'm walking around Central Park, just drifting, and I hear sound, music. So I start walking towards the sound. So when I get there, I see this guy with like 3 keyboards one in front of him, one on each side. And then two trap drummers on on the other side of him, two trap drummers on the other side of him, and bass players on both sides coming down the steps from the stage. And the whole audience was surrounded by horn players.
Wow.
The whole audience. So I looked at this, listening. First of all, the sound that I was hearing was totally unfamiliar to my head, right? So I looked around and I saw Eddie Gale, James Spaulding, Julian Priester, Roland Alexander, you know, Scobie Strowman,
Wow.
you know, people that I recognize from jazz in Brooklyn. So I said, I had to walk in between one of the musicians. They were standing, I guess, about, you know, a foot or two apart. You had to walk between them and go to a seat. So I walked in, got a seat, and I've been on board the ship ever since.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You know, it was, you know, come afterwards, I found out that it was a celebration of the full moon that Sun Ra was playing to.
No kidding.
Yeah, you know, I mean, only Sun Ra,
Yes, sir.
you know, would do a celebration to the full moon
Yes.
with 100 musicians.
Oh my God.
Sun Ra pulled together 100 musicians to
Wow.
put that concert together in Central Park.